Oh, here we go.
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 Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, here we
Here we
go.
go.
Oh, here we go.
Welcome back to the motherfucking podcast, guys.
Hi,
I'm Lacey.
I'm Stephanie.
And this is Oh, Here
Here
We
we
Go.
go. Wow, okay. Okay, guys, we're talking some heavy stuff today. Something that needs to be discussed, especially for all you people in Arkansas. We're talking. We have Celia.
Celia.
I want to say Celia. Celia on, who works for Planned Parenthood in San Diego, and she is a surgical assistant.
yeah.
And yeah, so we've been trying to find somebody in Planned Parenthood for a minute, and we can't even. They're just pretty busy right now, and like we can't get anybody. And we found her, and she was perfect. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like thank God. And she really educated us on so many things and got us to even look at things a little differently too. And we're on the page that she's on. So it was just super informative.
I mean, we wanted to have a conversation about Planned Parenthood before Roe V Wade was even discussed or overturned. Just because Planned Parenthood is quite controversial, but it's so needed. Like,
yeah, it's odd that it's controversial.
Yeah, I don't, and we talk about, pro-choice, pro-life, and all of the services that Planned Parenthood offers, and like what it's like now for Planned Parenthoods across the country, with some states, abortions being illegal now, and what that looks like for different clinics. But yeah, this is just super eye-opening to kind of really hear what's going on inside of a clinic like that, especially now Roe V Wade is overturned, and just to hear, I guess, a lot of just personal stuff too.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest issues with what Planned Parenthood has to deal with is that people think that they're just an abortion clinic, and that's not the case. Like, even though abortions are illegal in some states, they are still necessary. They don't just do abortions. They are a one-stop shop for everything a female needs. And
not even just female.
And yeah, not even just female. I didn't even think about it, but I realized today that it's a clinic for everybody. Literally anybody. So yeah, it's still like very necessary. And I think the biggest issue is like, and we talk about it in the episode, how I was approached like about something when posting a Planned Parenthood, and a family member was like, you support Planned Parenthood, does that mean you support abortion? And I just was like, how are you, like, yes, but how is that the first thing that you connect? But I just think it's poor. I just think it's people choosing to be ignorant.
Yeah, I had someone comment on my TikTok when I was talking about Roe v. Wade, and they said, yeah, too bad you can't have any more one night stands and just murder a baby 2 months later. And I was like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
And of course, it's all men.
I know.
I've never seen a woman in my comments giving me any fucking trouble. It's all these fucking yeehaw men who want to have a say.
Or it's like the women that aren't, it's like they're way older and they can't even have children anymore. And it's just like, stop. Like, what the fuck? Just like, what the hell? But I think at this point, if you think that a Planned Parenthood is just for abortions, then you are choosing to be ignorant to a lot of information out there. And personally, I think that that's fucking stupid.
Also, even if it was a clinic, even if it was a clinic just for abortions, so what?
Well, yeah, no, but
like,
at the base of it, just know what the clinic is.
Right.
Like, just let's start there. And anyway, the interview is extremely good. It's funny because it's not funny. None of this is funny. But we went to Halsey last night, which was such an incredible show, and at Red Rocks. And she really just... she put made a whole song dedicated to the background images were protests of abortions like lately, and all the information out there, that some of information I didn't even realize about
She
abortion.
listed statistics.
Yeah, listed statistics all over like the screen, and I just thought it was amazing. And she sang this one song I like called Nightmare, and made it all about that. And just like, man, I was like, Lacey, I'm
angry.
I'm like mad. I got goosebumps and stuff.
Dude,
and
the crowd came alive.
yeah, it just really, it was crazy to see like just over 10,000 people there all fucking on the same page, you know? And it's like, that's how big this issue is.
Yeah, I just got chills.
Yeah. And it's weird to live in a time where I don't have rights like all the way. You know, I've never really had to think about it like that all the time. Like there's someone out there that is telling me I can't do something.
It's so, I mean, my sister lives in Texas. I don't know her thoughts on this at all, but it's just kind of weird because I live in California. I'm just like, what if, like my sister, you know,
Right.
there's like that thought.
Well, she would have to come out to you and get it.
Right.
Right, yeah. And it just, but that's the thing. It's like, oh, she would just have to come out to you. Sure, that's fine. She's financially able, I'm sure. But most women aren't. Like, they can't go out of Arkansas. They don't have the money or the transportation. And so they're just populating. And it's just like, that's not doing anything for the economy at all. It's not doing anything to have more people on this planet. Like, we're running, like, what the hell? But we do talk about that more, so I'm not going to dive into it right now. But
We got a cute little table topic for you, though.
yeah, we're going to start doing, like, questions and stuff during our intros, because I feel like it's a good way to get things, like, more
Little-
personal.
Yeah, pumping some juice to the brain.
Yeah.
Who can drive you crazy in 5 minutes or less? I don't know.
Would it be me?
No, I've like spend weeks with you.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Who could drive me crazy? I'm just not surrounded by people that get on my fucking nerves. But the one person that came to mind, I don't even know him. 2 years ago, Cameron had a birthday, and I was trying to surprise Cameron with one of his friends that I had not met yet. And I also invited one of my queer friends, and we were at dinner, and the whole night this new friend was just being so fucking rude to my queer friend. And I was also microdosing, and I don't really like stand up for I don't know, I'm just not like a very vocal person when it comes to conflict. I fucking yelled at him. I was so mad at him, like, and he left. So that's the one person I can recall that drove me fucking crazy.
Mine would be a family member, and I'm not going to say which one. So if my
T.
family's listening,
Figure
you
it
can
out.
all figure it out on your own. Did you want me to ask you one?
Oh my God, I forgot.
We're new to this. Wow. There we go. Okay, going right for the middle. Would you trade 10% of your sanity to become 10% smarter? Oh. I don't think that I would. I think I'm good with knowledge I can attain from others and stuff. I want to feel good.
Yeah, I don't think I would either because
I'm fine with where I'm at.
Because also sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
no.
Not in the conversation we're having today, but in other things, yes. So, okay. Well, that was cute. I like doing those.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, guys, this is a little bit, this is a really, really good episode, and we're interested to see how you think. So.
Just let it take itself away.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay. Well, let's just hop into it, and okay, bye.
A quick commercial break coming in hot.
Oh, good. Okay. I like that little transition.
You know, we got the one and only Jimbo and Jules.
Yeah, we would just want to talk about our sponsor for a little bit because we like it.
I'm going to talk about the just traditional hemp oil. I started using this months ago when I was really trying to figure out my acne. I was just trying all types of shit to just get any kind of inflammation in my body down. So I was taking Jimbo and Jules hemp oil every morning, every night, and I really liked it.
Yeah, and for future, or just to say this, they're a CBD company and a holistic one at that, and we've had such good success with all their products, and we just especially this one. This is the one that you put it in your mouth and like swirl it around a lot or something.
Yeah, you just want to get it into like your bloodstream, like under your tongue or something.
Yeah, and you do it like one or two times a day. Yeah, I don't know. I love this one. I like them all, but that's been a good hit.
It feels really nice to support like small businesses. I've been trying to buy all from the farmers market. I'm that bitch now.
Oh, you are? Yeah. Wow.
And every time I do my little oil drops, I'm like, oh, I'm for sure that bitch.
Oh, she's doing one. And then, well, I think you just take it away because.
Okay.
But anyway, you guys, we love Jimbo and Jules. If you want to check out their products, all their products are CBD, all full spectrum, I believe. Yeah. And which just means very good, high quality CBD. So, but yeah, check them out. Go to jimboandjules.com. And then if you're in the checkout and you got some stuff, here we go, 20 for 20% off.
Everything's linked down below.
All right. Let's get back into it.
Bye. Welcome back, guys.
Hi.
Today we're sitting down with Celia.
Hello.
Hello.
Lovely to be here.
Before we kind of get diving into questions, Celia, can you tell us who you are? Tell us about you.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. I can do that. So I have worked with Planned Parenthood of the Pacific Southwest. It is the affiliate that's in San Diego, Riverside, Imperial Valley kind of area. It's one of the, I want to say it's like the second largest affiliate in the United States. So it's like a pretty big chapter of Planned Parenthood. And I work in the health centers. So I can't really speak much to the advocacy side of things or the lobbying side of things. I work specifically in the health centers. I started out in fall of 2018 as a front office associate, basically. We call them patient access specialists. So I started there, but my true background has been in, medical assisting. I keep a license as an EMT. I keep that up to date. And so I eventually transitioned to the back office, and I worked primarily in family planning. So that was kind of your run-of-the-mill visits, your birth control visits, UTIs, yeast infections, STI screenings, just kind of I jokingly would call it like vagina urgent care. So that's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
And then I recently transitioned to working in the specialty service center. So more surgical, more in-clinic, more at the top of the medical assistant scope. So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So then, I love it.
So describing you, though, what would you say is your job title, I guess, at Planned Parenthood?
So my title is medical assistant. I'm not at the highest level because we have like different levels of medical assistant, and I'm like next to the top base. So which means I have a little bit more of an expanded skill set. So like I do, other than like the regular like assisting things, like I'm almost kind of like a surgical tech because I scrub in, I scrub out, I assist at that, and I do ultrasounds. And just kind of whatever the doctor needs me to do, I'm there. I'm doing it.
So there's not a surgery or like something that you would not be able to do. Like you can just do anything that they need.
More or less, yeah. The way we look at it is like I'm operating under the MD's license. So whatever they say I can do, that's on them. So.
Oh wow.
But it's a lot of passing. It's a lot of passing instruments. It's a lot of counseling. I actually do a lot of counseling in my role. A lot of like, let's go over what your appointment's going to be. Let's talk about your options. Let's talk about what birth control you want. So it's a lot of education. And then, I get to scrub up and do some fun stuff too.
Okay. Where are you located?
I'm in San Diego area, San Diego, California.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to know that because, with the heat of everything going on, I just wanted to know what state you were in.
I am in one of those safe haven states where reproductive access is still very much protected. So very fortunate. I grew up in Texas. So like real different.
Well, even if all this, like, even with the states that have a Planned Parenthood where it's no longer legal, are they going to shut down, or they'll just still keep operating? And they will still stay in business and everything, right? Like, they won't be hurt. Will they be hurt by that
Like what, in
decision?
Texas?
Or just like any state where abortions are not legal, will that hurt the Planned Parenthoods in those states?
It's it's tough because this is something we've talked about. They're pretty transparent with everything the affiliate's going through, and I was actually pretty fortunate that I got a scholarship, like a grant, from Planned Parenthood Federation, which is our political arm of the agency, to go to the National Abortion Federation meeting, and this was literally like 3 days before the Supreme Court draft was leaked. So we were all pretty much preparing, like, okay, Roe versus Wade is going to be overturned, and Planned Parenthoods and independent abortion clinics in smaller states and what we call hostile states have kind of had like a game plan from the start. So they are seeing like, okay, well, what other services can we offer? What can our clinicians still do? What can we still offer? So a lot of Planned Parenthoods in general, there's some that have never offered abortions ever just because of the licensing and whatever they have in their state. But they're able to kind of switch gears. Like, okay, maybe we're offering more comprehensive gynecological that's a mouthful, gynecological care. Maybe we're offering more family planning services, more, some are even moving to like offering primary care. So a lot of them are just kind of doing what they can to keep their doors open.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What all services do Planned Parenthood provide? Because I think for a lot of people, maybe specifically in the South, they think it's just for abortions. And haven't people been trying to get Planned Parenthood shut down?
Yeah, that's kind of why I asked. For some reason, I'm just like,
Planned Parenthood does so much.
yeah.
So much.
My brothers, well, yes, because I posted a status or something that I was like, in support of Planned Parenthood, maybe a link or something. And my brother texted me and he was like, Planned Parenthood, does that mean you support, he was like, does that mean you support Planned Parenthood or something, and abortions? And I was like, are you asking me if I like support women's rights? Like, because I couldn't, the way he connected, because I posted about Planned Parenthood, he just completely thought that was just all abortions. He didn't even think about all the other. That's just like not what crosses a lot of people's minds.
And it's interesting because, like I said, I grew up in Texas and I had the same mindset. But moving to California, it's not as many people see it that way because it's so much more established in California. It's almost like, the access here is wild because it's like, oh, I can't get an appointment at this one. Great. I'll just go to the clinic 20 minutes down the road and they have an opening. They can see me. Like, that's how like wildly different it is here. So Planned Parenthoods, a lot of them will offer, I know here in California, we offer, again, like GYN care. So people can get their pap smears done there. People can do kind of just like run of the mill infection checks. Like, hey, I just feel kind of off. Something burns. Like, they can come and get pelvic exams. We do colposcopies, which is kind of like when you have an abnormal pap and you need to kind of do like a biopsy of the cervix to kind of get a closer look. Basically, it's early preventative care for cervical cancer. We do breast exams. We do complex GYN care. So if it's something like a little bit outside the scope of a regular visit, like, hey, I want to get tested for PCOS. Like, sometimes we have advanced clinicians that can come in and do that. My affiliate offers gender affirming hormone therapy. So people who are transitioning can do their initial consult with us and get their checkups through us and go through their transition with us on the hormone therapy side of things. Oh gosh. Some affiliates will offer prenatal care. Some affiliates will offer mental health services. We have limited mental health services at ours. We have what's called care coordination, and we put people in touch with, so they come to our visit and then we find out, hey, you need a little bit more than just, something below the belt. Maybe you need help with housing. Maybe you need help with childcare, maybe you need resources to help you get on insurance, like we're able to put them in touch with services like that. So it's so much more than abortions. I mean, abortions are obviously a part of it, and they're still very important work that we do, but it's just, yeah, we do a lot. Like,
Yeah, wow. I mean, is Planned Parenthood just for women?
no, it serves people of all genders, men, women, and everything in between. Like I said, we've helped trans patients.
Wow.
We've had male patients come through. My specialty services center even does vasectomies a couple of times a month. So yeah,
Oh,
it's for
Wow.
everybody.
Why do people, do you think, like, go to Planned Parenthood? Because I went when I was 19 and I did not have health insurance, but I wanted to get on birth control. So I went to Planned Parenthood in Santa Monica and got birth control for the first time.
Yeah. Did they give you a little green card?
I'm not sure. What do you mean?
Okay, so it's
Like
cool
the
because in
pack that it
California,
was in?
yeah, in California we have the Family Pact program, which covers things like birth control and testing and everything like that, which is really neat. Some states will have similar reproductive health programs that's state funded for low income individuals to get family planning services, birth control, testing, infection checks, things like that. And then on a federal stance, there's Title X funding, which is money that the federal government has set aside for family planning and reproductive health care services, again, for men and women. So,
Oh,
wow.
so I was going to ask, like, how are you guys funded? Like, do you have funds from the government at all?
California, it varies state by state. Like,
Okay.
I know in California, we use a lot of money from Family Pact, which is, again, like our state reproductive health care system. Title X is money specifically used for reproductive health, but not abortion. So it would be your regular, reproductive health stuff, and that's federal. That doesn't necessarily go to Planned Parenthood specifically, but Planned Parenthoods can use the money. Like, it's a big pot. It's a big federal pot of money that if your clinic meets whatever qualifications, you have access to it. A lot of money comes from donors, and just kind of like any medical facility, it's all like insurance and whatnot. We have contracts with just regular insurance companies, really, so they can use it just like a regular doctor's office.
Whoa.
Planned Parenthood is one place I would actually be very proud to donate to.
Yeah.
Because I know where the money is like really going and everything, and it's just like never heard anybody get in trouble for doing stuff with it.
Yeah.
I had like a very random question though, and it kind of popped up as you were talking. But has Planned Parenthood ever considered branching into another type of like adoption center, like facilitation or anything?
I can't specifically speak for like the entire affiliate. I know we provide resources for people if they're seeking adoption. But I got, this is interesting because I had like just been Googling this earlier. The adoption industry has a lot of work that it needs to do, and a lot of the roots, and not to say like every industry does, adoption can still be really messy and really traumatic. And a lot of times there's a lot of financial incentives for low income women to give up their children to wealthy white, parents. So, that's not to say I'm anti-adoption. I'm absolutely like, adoption is fantastic, but when it's done well, but I stumbled upon a Twitter thread about the woman that basically like set the standard for modern day adoption, and she was essentially a child trafficker. So yeah. So if you ever get a chance to look up Georgia Tan, yeah. So the adoption and fostering still have like so much work. So
Wow. Okay. Well, damn.
I'm sorry. That was a loaded question, a loaded answer. I apologize.
No. That was great. I'm like just thinking about that. I didn't know all that. My boyfriend was adopted, and he has searched really hard to find his dad, and the adoption agency, 20 years of everything that happened during that time got blacked out, and all files and everything are lost. So I just have, and I've been also thinking about adoption agencies lately, which is so weird, thinking of other ways that they could be done. Like, could there be an agency where um, the parents go into it, or the mom and dad or whatever parents go into it, knowing that they're going to adopt, and that they do want contact later, or that they
Right.
don't want contact later, and if they could just kind of give a personal message to the kid somehow 20 years later, 30 years later, just explaining why they decided to give them away and
Yeah.
why they do not want contact. I just feel like that would be so, coming from a new up generation of like Gen Zers, and everybody's more communicative and
Right.
aware of mental illnesses and stuff. I feel
Yeah.
like I would want to do that. I would want to help out if I was adopting a child
Oh, for
30
sure.
years later. I would not want them to go crazy anymore from trying to find out who I was, you
Right.
know?
And it's also, you got to think about like medical history and things like that. Like I personally, I don't know my birth father. It would be cool if I did, because again, the medical history, and there's just so much more, and maybe just
Yeah.
to like a little bit of closure. I don't know, but
Mm.
That would, yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. So that's why I asked that. So
right.
yeah.
I do know we try to put people in contact with agencies that are very like, just very like open-minded and straightforward, and not exploitative, and just like genuinely have the family's best interests in mind, because sometimes that's not the case, unfortunately.
Can you explain what all would happen if Planned Parenthood was shut down?
I think a lot of people would lose access to care, um, a lot of care that's very accessible to them. I think one of the things about Planned Parenthood that people like and people feel safe about is they walk into a relatively unpretentious medical setting. For example, you walk in, and at least at my clinic, nurses have pink hair, tattoos, facial piercings. We're all wearing Crocs. We get to wear bright colored scrubs, whatever we want.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, you get to get care by essentially people that, look like you and you feel safe with. Um, People from all walks of life, people from every type of economic background, every type of racial background, gender identity, sexual identity, orientation, things like that. Um, I don't really see that in other medical facilities.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a huge blow to so many communities. And especially, yeah, to like younger patients. Teenagers see Planned Parenthood and they're like, cool, I'm safe there. I can go. They're not gonna tell my parents what I'm doing. Everything is safe. I can go get birth control. I don't have to pay. I can figure something out. So and a lot of marginalized communities too. Like, again, we serve a lot of queer individuals. We work closely with trans patients. So I think it would just be so detrimental. And the good thing about Planned Parenthood is, because we are this big organization, we're very visible. So whenever people want to make donations, they donate to us because we're out there, we're visible, we're in the community, we're doing the work. Um, so yes, it would be a huge loss if we were to shut down. However, because we're so visible and because we're at the front of everybody's minds, we're very fortunate in that I don't think we are going to shut down anytime soon.
Oh,
I
great.
think, yeah, which is great. I think our colleagues that work for independent abortion clinics, smaller family planning locations, are really struggling right now. And I'm very fortunate to work for such a big affiliate that has the resources to keep our doors open. Not everybody does.
Wow.
So,
Do you, I guess, did you grow up in a conservative household?
um, ish, kind of. I grew up in a really conservative town. So my parents were a little bit more progressive, but as I've grown older, I've known that's still like, they were just barely left of center.
Well, do they like I guess, have they been supportive of you working for Planned Parenthood? And do you love working for them?
Um, I'm not really in contact with my biological parents much, but my kind of adoptive mom is very supportive. My grandparents are kind of just like, well, that's your business, so just
Mm.
keep doing good. We're proud of you no matter what kind of
Oh, that's good.
attitude. So it's like, you know what? Okay, thanks, Grandma. Love you too.
Did you
um,
always know you wanted to go into a field like this?
I think I did. Yeah, I think I really did. I knew I was going to wind up in some form of medical care, but it's going to sound cheesy, but every day I get to do what I love. Like it's a little bit of education, a little bit of medical, and a lot of just being there for people. So, yeah, and I guess to answer the second question, I do love what I do. I
Wow.
do love where I work.
When did Planned Parenthood? Okay, two questions that are kind of the same. When was it founded, and was it the first thing like this?
Kind of. So it has I'm looking it up so I get the exact date right. Um, it has kind of a convoluted history.
Mm.
Uh, so Margaret Singer was the founder of Planned Parenthood, and she opened the first birth control clinic in 1916 in the United States. And
1960 or 16?
16.
Oh, wow, great.
Yeah. And that was back when you could only basically get contraceptive devices through like very sketchy means. Like there wasn't really a safe way to do it. And then she founded the American Birth Control League in 1921, which changed its name to Planned Parenthood in 1942. Um, Margaret Sanger was like a very early suffragette. She worked as a nurse. And the way she looked at it was she was working with a lot of low income individuals that didn't really have a choice. It was just kind of like, all right, I guess I'm pregnant again. And even though like a pregnancy would kill them or they didn't have the means to provide for another child, it was just there wasn't really any other options. So her idea was that if you could control how many children you were having, you could have a better life. um, there's like a whole lot we could go into on Margaret Sanger. She wasn't exactly like the greatest person. She kind of had a lot of her ideals were kind of founded in things like eugenics and racism. So like not awesome. And
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
yeah, and it's interesting because like Planned Parenthood is kind of starting to reckon with that and acknowledge like, hey, not what we do now is great, but our original founder maybe wasn't that great. So
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting. Do
And
you
a lot of oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, please. Whatever you're gonna say is gonna be better than mine.
Oh, no, no, you're doing great. I'm having fun. Uh, a lot of people will kind of use like Margaret Sanger's past against us. Like a lot of like anti-choice people, protesters will kind of use that, and we're just like, we know, we talk about it, we have meetings about it, we are discussing ways every day that we can be actively anti-racist in our care. So, and you guys are just kind of using it as a buzzword. So,
Did that woman stay in charge of everything until she passed, or she had,
uh,
or was she
yeah,
like kicked out?
no, I mean. Let's see. I'm kind of
Because I guess she
scrolling.
wouldn't have gotten in trouble for being that way until like now, really.
Yeah. She died in 1966, and from 1952 to 1959, she was president of International Planned Parenthood Federation. So, yeah, I don't think she caught a lot of heat for her ways of thinking back then because it was kind of everyone thought that way. That doesn't make it okay. But it was definitely a more common way to think. So,
Do you know I don't know if you know much about like the history of abortions, but if you do you know like when the first one or when that started really
oh
happening?
boy, that is so hard to tell because abortion has been around as long as people could get pregnant. Um, Women for centuries have known, herbs and concoctions and things they could do to terminate a pregnancy. Um, So it's hard to say like when it started becoming like a clinical practice. But yeah, as long as people could get pregnant, they've been finding ways to not be pregnant.
What would they, other than like even back in the day medicinally, like how would you, what's it, what would be the physical way that they would have done that? Because I still don't, like, how do
It's
you do that?
it's kind of it's kind of really sad. Basically, women would do everything they could to trigger a miscarriage. They would throw themselves downstairs. They would go horseback riding, fall off a horse, anything to kind of cause that bodily harm to force a miscarriage. And it's and then, kind of um later on, the reason the wire coat hanger is a symbol of abortion activism is because women would uh, basically undo the wire coat hanger and use it to go into the uterus. I'm sorry, this is kind of graphic. Tell me if I need to
No, I mean, we need to hear that.
to kind of
Oh my
back
gosh.
down and pierce the uterus and again trigger a miscarriage that way.
I've heard of the hanger.
Yeah.
Have you not?
I have heard of it. I've never thought much about it. I was always confused at how, because I didn't know that they undid the hanger. I was like, how do you get that little,
Yeah.
how do you get the hookup in there?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. You're just like, oh,
but
that
that
doesn't make
makes more sense. And
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Well, okay, so we've all seen Dirty Dancing, right? Iconic movie of all of our childhoods, very much my comfort movie.
Yeah.
One of the central plot lines in that movie is abortion. Like Penny goes and gets the abortion because baby's father goes to go take care of her because it was a back alley one. And this was pre Roe V Wade. So this was the 60s. So it was a back alley abortion gone wrong. And so that's why she had to go get her father. And that's what she needed the money for. Yeah. And you even
I
hear her
totally
talking.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well,
We got so caught up in Patrick Swayze. So like,
well, I have a confession. I've never seen Dirty Dancing. So y'all,
I did a couple
know.
years ago.
I love
I've
it.
never
It's one of my
seen
favorite
it.
movies.
I know I need to. I just saw Forrest Gump not too long ago. But yeah, I have not seen it. But that does remind me of just seeing in media. I do remember seeing in movies that though, like that kind of being something that happens, like a back alleyway of an abortion. I have seen. So I didn't know that they were doing that though. Wow.
Yeah. There's a really interesting, I can't remember if it was on Netflix or Hulu, but it's a documentary called The Janes, and it's about the Jane Network, which pre Roe v. Wade, so late 60s, early 70s, was a group of women that essentially learned how to do abortions and learned how to do it in a safe way. And were essentially, it was a whole network. It was a whole coalition of women that if you were pregnant and didn't want to be, they were like, okay, well, here's the number, call Jane. And it was like a few nurses, maybe like one doctor, but they would train women to do abortions for each other or whoever needed them. And they were all arrested in 1972. And then Roe v. Wade passed and all their charges were dropped.
Wow. It's just so crazy to think about that this has always been a thing. Like we have always been having to fucking fight for that.
Yes.
And like I am in my 20s and I grew up with Roe versus Wade and having the option of abortion was always there. Like I always knew that if I were, especially when I was really young, if I were to get pregnant, I was not ready. And I always had the option of an abortion.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to, hear these like older stories of, women really not wanting a child, not being able to support for the child and doing anything they can to get rid of it because, it's our life too. Like, this is like our life that we deserve to have ownership of.
Well, I could never understand the religious reason, but, like of the government. I understand why people in other oh my gosh.
Oh, hello.
Really? Hello. This is Penny, everybody.
Hi, Penny.
So we're just gonna like have that. Okay.
Very
She
important
just
guest.
landed on his face. Okay. I could never understand the religious reason for the government getting involved. I get why people in religions have their opinion or whatever, but the government, I've always been like, why are you caring about God? Why are you like, I couldn't get it. And then my friend explained to me that the reason, especially for this time around, like with the overturn of Roe versus Wade, is he was like, the United States had the lowest increase of population that it's ever had. And because of that, that's why they want to that's because like the pandemic and people being smarter, things just being more expensive, and everybody's just like not having babies.
We also learned today that not people are having less sex too.
Yeah, and so that's why the government's they're making it about a God thing, but it's really that they, without a population increasing, they cannot feed corporations. They cannot. It's money. The more people
100%.
that are on the earth is more money for them. And when
Yeah.
he said it like that, I was like, at
Right.
least now I get what they're doing, because them
Right.
making it about God is like weird to me.
Yeah. And I think one of the worst things I heard to come out of the Supreme Court arguments was that Justice Amy Coney Barrett said, well, you know, we need to do this so we can increase the domestic supply of infants in the United States. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding
Yeah.
me? Sorry if you have to bleep
To
that
make
out.
money.
But, like,
No, we cuss
domestic
all the time.
Okay. Domestic supply of infants? These are children we were talking about. Like, are you kidding?
They don't care. And my
No.
I could never understand why they were like making it about like a God or whatever. And after he said that, I was like, okay, yeah, this is about money, which makes so much
It
more
is.
sense to me on their end now. But
Yeah.
people, they're gonna just hide it like religion so they can get the Christians to back them up. So
And
For sure. I mean,
it's not a part of everyone's religion. So, like, there goes that argument.
those
Right.
fucking yeehaw pro-choice people just sound so silly to me. Like when they're trying to make it about like life. I've gotten so many comments on my TikTok because 70% male men follow me. And once I started speaking out about Roe versus Wade being overturned, you know, it's the men that are just fighting me in it in the comment section, and
Yeah.
you know, calling us murderers, and like, oh, like you just want murder to be legal, and like all these fucking yeehaw people talking about life. And I'm just like, if you trust the government, like they have made it so clear that they don't give a fuck about quality of life and life, like
No.
from the water we drink, the food that is given to us, pollution, like the population increase, like it fucking sucks. Like
Oh my
I
God,
hate the
it
government.
does. It does. It's so, and the worst thing about this is if you go to the Guttmacher Institute, which tracks things like reproductive health outcomes and like maternal mortality rate and birth control and things like that. States that have the strictest abortion laws also have the highest maternal mortality rate. So the stricter the abortion laws, the more women are dying in childbirth or shortly after. This also disproportionately affects women of color. So Black women, Indigenous women. Like, this is directly hurting an already hurting population. So it's like, you can't tell me it's pro-life and I care about this life and that life when women are literally dying in childbirth with these stricter laws, because you're forcing
Yeah.
people to carry pregnancies to term that are not safe.
Yeah.
Do you know the difference, or can you explain the difference between a medicated abortion and a in-clinic abortion?
I sure can. All right. So the in-clinic or the aspiration abortion, some people call it a surgical abortion, but I find that term just kind of like is really scary. So we've started calling it like an in-clinic or an aspiration procedure because that's kind of more of what it is. So the medication abortion, you take 2 different pills. You take one in clinic, and what it does is it blocks progesterone. Sometimes I pronounce that wrong, which is the hormone needed to continue a pregnancy. And then 24 to 48 hours later, depending on your schedule, we always talk with patients like, hey, what's going to work best for you? You take 4 pills buccally, which means you insert them in your cheeks and you let them dissolve. And that is going to trigger the opening of the uterus to pass pregnancy tissue. That can be done up to 12 weeks.
Is there not all? Does it not do? You can do mouth or vaginally, right?
Yeah, you can do vaginally too. Vaginally tends to work a little bit quicker. So, like, depending on someone's schedule, if they're like, oh, I only have childcare for this day, it's like, okay, well, let's do the faster route. Or hey, I have to work this day. Okay, like it's like the provider and the patient will have like the conversation of like what works best for you. Is this the best option for you? And so, the passing of the pregnancy can be pretty uncomfortable depending on the gestational age. So if and everyone's pain tolerance is different. So I can't tell someone like, oh, it's going to hurt a lot. I'm like, I don't know what your version of hurt a lot is. So, but we usually send people home with anti-nausea medication and pain meds, and they can always call us if anything goes, south or haywire. That whole process takes a couple of days to complete. And then you have some places will do a follow-up ultrasound just to make sure the pregnancy is no longer in the uterus and that everything is complete. If you are in a situation where you can't do a follow-up ultrasound, usually we recommend doing a pregnancy test in 5 weeks after initiating the medication abortion. And if in 5 weeks your pregnancy test is negative, you're good to go. So that's the medication option. The in-clinic abortion is done in a clinic, and it's depending on the gestational age. It's done with aspiration or suction. So it can be a handheld suction device or a machine, depending on gestational age, depending on the person's anatomy, depending on the clinician and their preferences. The cool thing about the in-clinic abortion is that you can get all the good pain meds and anti-anxiety meds. And if anything were to happen, you're supported, you're there. There's a lot of, trained medical staff there. And for some people, it's better for them if they're traveling. If patients are coming from out of state, we say do the in-clinic because it's just more final. You show up pregnant, you leave not pregnant. And there's usually no follow-up needed.
One?
The aspiration is the in-clinic. Yeah. So if you aspirate,
but
it's
you
suction.
said there's suction, and is there another procedure?
No, they're both done through suction. There is, that's usually within the first 15 weeks of pregnancy. It's usually done through suction. And then when it gets to later in a pregnancy, it's a dilation and evacuation, which is a 2-day procedure. So.
Wait, which is a what? Sorry.
A dilation and evacuation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I didn't
okay.
I didn't know if there was another version of doing that other than suction, so that makes sense.
For later on, it's just for higher gestational age, it's 2 days because you insert dilators the first day to open the cervix up, and then the next day is the evacuation.
So for the pill, you have it up until how long to do that?
The guidance is officially 12 weeks. I know at my particular affiliate, we do up to 10 weeks. So
okay. When is the suction not? When are you not able to get that?
Every clinic is a little bit different depending, and every physician is a little bit different into what their comfort level is. Usually 16 weeks is about the highest that you can do, like an aspiration procedure.
And that's even in states that it's completely legal, right? Like
that would be in places where it is legal and there's not any issues with it.
Do you agree with the amount of time, or do you think it should be any time, or no, like it should be shorter, or do you like that model?
So in California, you can terminate a pregnancy up into 23 weeks and 6 days.
Wow.
I think there's so many more factors to take into account that I think it should 100% just be a conversation between the pregnant person and their doctor, because we see patients that are terminating for medical reasons. They find out, the pregnancy isn't viable, or, it's not safe for them to deliver, or
So then what's that procedure like? After, if it's not suction, if it's not the pill, what's the other procedure?
It's the dilation and evacuation. So they get the dilators the day before, inserted into the cervix to help open the cervix up, and then the next day the MD removes the pregnancy in a surgical procedure. I don't know how better to describe it
okay.
without getting like super gross. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, I
like
wasn't sure.
yeah,
Like
but it's not.
for getting bigger. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's not done through suction then.
What's the average cost for the pill in an in-person procedure?
You're looking at about probably $500, anywhere between $500 to $600, depending on the location and the capabilities of it. I know in California, the in-clinic procedure is a little bit cheaper than the pill, but
Oh.
it's like a full doctor's visit. You know, you have your ultrasound
Mhm.
done, maybe there's blood work, you have conversation with the provider, with nurses, so it's a full procedure. So, I know our affiliate does. We do payment plans, which is really cool for any services, whether it's abortion services or family planning or testing. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Do you need insurance, or like does insurance cover any of this?
Depends on your insurance plan. Some insurances do. Um, there is something called the Hyde Amendment, which means federal dollars cannot be used towards abortion. So if you have a federal insurance plan, like military service members, people on federal, like government employees, like their insurance won't work for abortion services.
Wow.
So,
If you live in another state that is where abortion is illegal and you want to get the pill, I think
mhm.
there are options where you just go online and go through it's called Plan C.
Yes, I have heard
And
of Plan C.
there's that option too. And I think the pill is, but you have to be in a state where it is legal. So like your IP address has to be
Yeah.
right.
So
Your
when it
high
comes,
IP,
that's the hard part is like, who is enforcing this? Like,
right.
how are we enforcing how people obtain, like, are we checking their mails? Like, for example, if someone were to obtain the medication needed to complete a medication abortion and they were in a state that it wasn't legal and they were to go to the hospital, there's no way to tell that you induced an abortion. Like,
Oh, so you can
you can just say, I'm having a miscarriage.
wait.
Like if you were to take the pill, then go to the hospital?
Yeah, if you were to take the pill and had some kind of crazy reaction, or you were bleeding too much or anything like that, or you were concerned and you were to go to a hospital or ER, they couldn't tell that you'd taken the pill. Like
Well, I
your
think
uterus is going to look the same.
just even obtaining it, I think you have to be in a. I think if to meet with a doctor virtually and not go through your insurance, because if you're in a
Yeah.
state where your insurance doesn't even whatever, there's people online. There's people online through this thing called Plan C that you
Mhm.
can meet with a doctor virtually, but your IP address has to be in the state that it is legal because they can't
Yeah,
ship it over illegally.
yeah,
But
I think sometimes it
or
also
they won't
depends
meet with
on,
you.
yeah, it depends on if the state allows telehealth services for abortion services, which is
Yes,
another.
that's it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it is plan. I think Plan C is mainly advertising telehealth options.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
meant to say that too.
A
Yeah.
lot of people are doing that. There are other options, other ways to get the pills other than Plan C. I have seen other. I'm on like every little like underground network and everything. Like I've answered so many questions for
Could you
people
list
and
other
whatnot.
options so just in case people like want to know?
Yes. So there is Plan C. There is also aidaccess.org. And honestly, if anyone's in a situation, I encourage them to reach out to their local abortion funds, because there are some really amazing organizations out there that work with individuals to get them the care that they need, whether it's getting them to a different state, whether it's arranging childcare, whether it's getting them the funds needed to have an abortion. There's so many amazing organizations that's their calling. That's what they're doing. They're raising funds just to do that. So I encourage
Oh my
people to
God,
donate
thank
to
God.
abortion access funds because they're amazing.
Wow,
I got to shout out to
that's great.
I got to shout out to two organizations very close to my heart as a Texas gal. The Lilith Fund is out of Texas, and they're amazing. And I'm getting like choked up because how much I care about them. And then there's the Jane's Due Process, which is specifically for minor women in Texas, people under
Wow.
the age of 18 seeking an abortion. And
Wow.
yeah, I got to meet. I got to meet one of the women that works for them when I went to the National Abortion Federation meeting, and I just like burst into tears because I was just so grateful for the work she did and how important it was to me.
Wow.
Because I had an abortion when I was 20 years old, and it was still legal in Texas. This was 2010. There was a few limitations, but this was before everything, like the hammer came down really hard, and I got excellent care. And I was so fortunate, and I was able to reach out to those access funds and get funding for my services. So
Wow.
Are they just being completely funded right now by other people? Because what are they going to do now that it's illegal in Texas? Or has
so
it always been?
um they're still getting funded by individual donors, and maybe they're not sending people to Texas clinics. Maybe they're using those funds to get people to places where it is legal. Again, flying people to states where it's legal, getting them hotels, childcare, arranging transportation. Like it's wild to think of how many more barriers to care there are because, you can't just Texas was already cutting down. Like it was only in major cities, and now they're just like, okay, no, nobody. So
Wow. So what are the repercussions? Because we know it's illegal now. What are they just going to start arresting people who have abortions? Are they going to arrest people who help perform them? Like what the fuck is their plan here?
I have no idea, and I'm terrified, like 100%. I think it was like in 1996, there was a well-known doctor that actually got shot and killed at church for the work that he performed. I don't know how they're going to enforce this kind of stuff. We already heard about a woman who was jailed and arrested because she was suffering a miscarriage, and they decided to report her as, having an abortion or inducing an abortion. She's since been let free, but I don't know what we're looking at here, and it's kind of terrifying. So, like
Wow.
Yeah, because
medically, there's no way to distinguish between an abortion and a miscarriage. You go in, you do the ultrasound, you can't tell. So, I don't know.
Wow.
that is really scary. And it's also just like, really? This is what we're going to spend our fucking time on is like being like,
Yeah,
no, that's an abortion, not a miscarriage.
right.
Yeah.
Like
We're
taking
not.
it to court and shit.
Yeah, there's a different mass shooting every other week, and that's not what we're focusing on. There's cities that don't have clean water. There's kids that don't have places to sleep, and this is what we're focusing on.
Um
It's
yeah, I mean, I don't even know what I was about to say. I was still thinking about what you said, but I do kind of want to get into like the statistics of abortions because whenever we were trying to learn more about them, we noticed
Mhm,
that they've gone down
Mhm.
since 1991. I think there was like
Yeah.
yes.
1.5 million abortions
Mhm,
reported in 1991, but since then it's been in like we have it. It's in 2020 there was 930,000 abortions, and then in
mhm.
2019 there was 619. So it just like has dropped steadily every year. Do you know why
Yeah.
that is?
No, wait. That was wrong, Stephanie.
What?
There was an increase from 2019 to 2020. But if you were to look at the graph from when Roe versus Wade was like when it became legalized in the 60s, it went up and we hit a peak in the 80s and 90s. And then we've
Oh,
steadily
I
been
read this
going down.
backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read it backwards.
That's
Okay.
okay.
But still, the significant drop, and then yeah, why is that?
I think the more access you have to, I think we saw that going up because
Mhm.
now all of a sudden we're tracking this. This is something legal. We can track it. So we're like, oh, so there was probably an increase in reporting too.
Mm.
Um, and I think you have less abortion when you have comprehensive reproductive health care. And comprehensive sex education. And I think that starts in our schools. That starts, with parents talking to their kids about these kinds of things. That starts with, doctors making it easier to access things like birth control. So I think you'll probably see a little bit like numbers go up and down, but when people have access to things that keep them from getting pregnant when they don't want to be pregnant, you have less terminations of pregnancies. So
Well, I also found this interesting.
Mhm.
In 2019, this is just something that they reported. 25% of women who received an abortion that year had never had a child before. Only
Mhm.
25%. This was like their first pregnancy or their first
Yes.
abortion. And 60% of women who received an abortion already had children. And there was like a different statistics of like 9% had 4 children and like
Mhm.
15% had 3 children. But for, you know, a lot of people are discrediting people who are wanting or who are seeking an abortion because for how do I say this? Just they don't think that they don't know motherhood, but
Yeah.
most women who are already mothers are the
Yeah.
majority that need abortions.
It is, and I think that's very true. I think we have a lot of people have this like straw man in their head of someone that just is being irresponsible and birth control. They're
Mhm.
not going to do that. They're just out there having like copious amounts of promiscuous sex and using abortion as birth control. But like that person doesn't exist. And I can say this as someone who works in abortion care. That person's not real. A lot of these people that come into the clinic are already parents, already mothers. They've already given birth, and they are making this decision not just with themselves in mind. Like it's not a selfish decision. They're making this decision, thinking about their whole family, their children, the quality of life they want to give them. So
Mhm.
I wish people would take that into account. Because yeah,
Right.
like that's something you'll see videos of protesters yelling like, "Oh, you'll be an excellent mother." She already is.
Mhm.
Like you don't know that. So,
Right. Wow. It's like not it's people think it's like this like silly nilly thing and
no.
it's not. Like we don't want to go through it. We don't want to fucking do it.
No,
It doesn't feel good.
it doesn't. Nobody is just like wakes up and they're like, think I'm going to do that. And same with, when it comes to terminating pregnancies like later on in gestational age, nobody is just deciding like, oh, you know what? This isn't for me. Like there's some huge
Mhm.
Yeah.
extenuating circumstance that has gotten them to where they are. So,
What is your response to people that usually conservatives that they are like, "Oh, I don't believe in abortion unless you get raped, then it's okay." Because I was discussing this with a family member,
mhm.
and he was like, "I can't believe that you support abortion," and I was like, just to get him to understand, I was like,
Right.
"Okay, well, what would you do if your girlfriend got raped and she got pregnant?" And he was like, "Well, that's different."
I don't
And
think.
what is your response to people like that?
Um, I can't have those conversations because I get really heated and really mad. And I'm like, and I've just kind of accepted a long time ago that I'm not going to change their mind. Um, I I don't like the discourse, the conversation where it's like, oh, I don't like it, but it's fine, and like rape or incest or something, then it's like not a big deal. If someone doesn't want to be pregnant, they don't want to be pregnant. If someone can't be pregnant, they can't be pregnant. Like that's none of my business to what their reasoning is or anything like that. So yeah, I don't like that, because the procedure is still the same. It doesn't mean anything different, you know. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. I know.
I but yeah,
It's yeah.
that's usually the argument we all try to use like on the conservatives, like, well, and I was like, well, what if? But there shouldn't have to
That's
be
a
a
good
what
thing I
if.
could have said back. The
Yeah.
procedure is still the same no matter.
Mhm.
Yeah, dang,
Yeah.
okay.
Like, oh, it's like, oh, wait, okay, you're having this done because of rape. All right, cool. Come in this room. It's different. No, it's not.
Oh
Like,
wow.
like,
Yeah.
no. Well, we have a
Yeah,
different
wow.
doctor for that. No, it's all the same doctor. It's all the same procedure. It's all the same medicines. You're going to receive the same quality level of care. We're going to take care of you no matter what. So,
Is it most abortions occur in the or like 90% of them occur in the first trimester, right?
mhm. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and when is it the first trimester over?
12
It's
weeks.
like, yeah,
Okay, so then again, like you have up until the first trimester is over for like the pill, I guess.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. Oh wow.
yeah, and that's like completely safe. And people are like, "You're murdering babies," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Shut up!"
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite thing to do when we're out that my husband's like, please stop, is anytime we see like an aggressively pro-life billboard that says something like, oh, they have fingerprints at like 18 days. I'm like, no, they don't. Like, this is all wrong. Like, and I'll like break it down why it's wrong. He's like, can you stop doing this? We're trying to have a nice night out, and I'm just like, no, this is wrong. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like,
Um
no.
there was my friend went into a store or a antique market in between Denver and Arkansas. I think
Mhm.
it was maybe in Kansas.
Right.
And he went in and over the radio, like he was just shopping around, over the radio, he was like he heard this was right around Roe versus Wade. He heard that 60 million murders have happened since the original Roe versus Wade thing. And he was like, whoa, that's weird. I've never heard it be like referred to in that way. And then
Yeah.
he was like, oh, wait, this is conservative radio. And I was like, wait, I didn't even know that was like a thing. And I was like, so that's what these people are hearing. They are literally viewing it as that way because that's all the
Mhm.
education really they're getting on it.
Yeah. Oh,
Like, and it's
100%.
freaking crazy.
Yeah, they genuinely believe they're saving a life. And I'm like,
Uh,
okay.
And then I'm like, listen to that. 60 million people. Everyone needs to close their eyes and imagine the world right now with 60. Imagine not even the world. Imagine your country with 60 million more people in it than there
We
is
don't
right
have
now.
space for that.
That
We
would
don't.
mean like
Really
what,
don't.
2 million more people in each state at this point?
Yeah. And that's
That
assuming
we are like, we don't need all these people
yeah.
here. Like, this is, oh my
And
God. Like,
that's assuming they're all healthy and everything goes well and all that. Like there's
it
just
will
so much
just
more.
increase the cost of living even more because what's good about living outside of bigger cities is there's cheaper places to live. But if
Right.
there's only more people coming into the world, everything's
Oh
just going
yeah.
to keep getting bigger, bigger and expanding. Everything's going to cost more. Everybody's taking up more of your shit, like more sources, more food, everything. So I'm just like confused as to why we want more people. Like why?
Well, they want
Money.
more of their people.
Yes.
They want more of their people.
And their
That's what it
money and like
is.
everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
They
I'm
want more
just, but
people
I'm
that
still,
look
I'm
like
like,
them and do and believe like them. They don't want more of other people,
there's a theory by he's a popular scientist. Oh my gosh, and he's like he goes on TV all the time.
Mhm.
I cannot remember his name, but he said that I'm gonna hate this because he's great. But he said that in 500 years it'll be to a point where you won't be able to not be surrounded by someone with at least 30 feet of you.
Oh my
Like
gosh,
you will see a person every 30 feet.
that's a panic attack waiting to happen.
Yeah. So it's
I
just
think
like,
I think one of my favorite arguments is that okay, so building is on fire and you have to rescue a living breathing baby or a petri dish of embryos. What are you going to rescue? You're going to rescue the
What?
baby because it's a living breathing baby and it is different than a petri dish of embryos. Like,
That's a great analogy. Is that an analogy?
Yeah.
Example?
wow. Yeah. What?
because there's
Oh
a
my
difference.
gosh. We're just thinking about that. That's very
Yeah.
true. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Well, speaking of Roe versus Wade, can you talk about the history of that for people that are listening that don't know?
Yes. So I had a couple notes. Let me bring them up. Da, 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 da. So Roe versus Wade wasn't specifically like, I guess the idea of it was that it's more about protecting someone's privacy. So the case was brought by Jane Roe, who was Norma McCorvey. Um, she became pregnant with a third child. She wanted an abortion, but she lived in Texas where it was illegal, except when necessary to save the mother's life. So her attorneys filed a lawsuit on behalf of the U.S. in federal court against her local district attorney, Henry Wade. So that's where Roe v. Wade comes from, alleging that Texas abortion laws were unconstitutional. So it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the idea behind it was in January 22nd, 1973, the Supreme Court issued a 7-2 decision in favor, holding that the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment of the United States provides a fundamental right to privacy, which protects a woman's right to an abortion. So that was the argument, is that it is against the 14th Amendment. And
okay.
yeah, so the court also said, you know, it's not absolute, and it's got to be balanced against the government's interest in, you know, protecting women's life and prenatal life. So they basically said, okay, like, it's good, it's fine, we have this, but there has to be gestational like term limits. So, I mean, it was a big deal when it passed. So
Yeah. How long did that last? That whole, like, how long did it take them to come up to that?
yeah.
Years, maybe?
So yeah, she filed the
60?
lawsuit. Well, she filed the lawsuit in 1969, and it was decided in 1973. So it was a 4-year process.
Oh.
I thought you were talking about how long Roe versus Wade has been
Oh,
around.
I was like, they were on trial for 60
No,
years.
we've had it for like
There's
how
so
many?
many justices.
No, maybe
Oh my God.
40 years.
Yeah, okay.
Around 40, I think.
Yeah.
I could be.
Before Roe versus Wade, though, so abortion was just always illegal?
Yeah, yes and no. It really didn't start to get steam until probably like the 50s. There's nothing in the Constitution about abortion specifically. There's nothing.
Is there anything in the Bible about abortion?
I am not super familiar with the Bible, not gonna lie, but no, there really isn't anything specifically about it. People will probably say otherwise and twist whatever phrasing to make it to where it's like, oh, but it says this, so this. But yeah, there's in biblical terms, whenever you didn't want a child, you put it in a basket and set it down the river or left it to die out of exposure. So, you know, that was nice. So
Wow.
How does something like this get resurfaced to the court? Like how and why?
How would we ever be able to turn it back?
So I think every conservative, since I'm not sure when like the pro-life movement kind of like started on an upswing, but every conservative judge or president has been like, we're going to do this for Roe v. Wade. We're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. Like, that's been every pro-life movement's goal since the 70s. So there was a couple different lawsuits that came up recently. I think them before Dobbs. Let's see. Let me look again. I have notes. There was Planned Parenthood versus Casey, and that was in 1992. Basically, it's kind of been left up to the states, and the states can impose whatever guidelines they want, or had been, but it still had to be legal. So Planned Parenthood versus Casey was the plaintiffs challenged 5 provisions of the Pennsylvania Abortion Control Act of 1982, arguing that the provisions were unconstitutional under Roe v. Wade. And so, again, goes all the way up to the Supreme Court again. And not only did the Supreme Court decide in favor of keeping abortion legal, they also got rid of federal trimester limitations. So states could have
Oh, wow.
trimester limitations, but there wasn't like a federal guideline for it.
So basically, we would have to change who's in the Supreme Court to get it switched back.
Basically, there has to be a case argued all the way back up to the Supreme Court for it to be redecided.
Oh my gosh.
Or
Okay.
or whoever is president can codify it into law. And
Why didn't?
Why isn't Biden doing
Yeah.
anything?
Wait, what?
it's it's so frustrating because like every time Biden tweets, it's like he's tweeting like, man, someone should really do something. I'm like, dude, it's you. You have to
Yeah,
do
wait.
something.
That's what I've been wondering. I'm like, does he not?
It's
What?
frustrating.
He is such a little fucking puppet to me. Like he does nothing.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating because even Barack Obama in 2007 was promising that he was going to codify Roe v. Wade into law, and 2 presidencies didn't do it. And there's a lot of
what is happening?
yeah, and there's a lot of like fundraising emails going out from Democratic Party being like, "Oh, we need your help on Roe v. Wade." I was like, "No, you haven't done shit. I'm a little frustrated with you right now. Like you're not really doing it." So,
I think people are getting big paychecks to keep shit like this. Like,
oh,
in
100%.
court. Like for the people that voted yes to get this overturned, I think a handful of them received like a fuck ton of money.
Oh, even Jane Roe herself, the person who the case was based off of, she fell on hard times and basically got bought out by pro-life organizations. So they paid her buku money to go back and be like, "Oh, I regret my abortion, this, that, and the other." And they were like using her their little poster child, but they bought her out essentially because money talks. And they preyed on someone who was very vulnerable, and yeah, it's awful.
I can't wait to see Gen Z in office.
Oh my
Oh,
God,
I
I can't
know.
wait. The
Ugh.
kids are all right. I'm so
I'm like,
excited.
will we be alive for that?
Oh God, I don't
We
know.
need it soon.
All
I
those
need-
people
I
are like
need-
in their 60s and
We
80s.
just need one to become of age, and then they'll just hack the whole system, and then that Gen
I
Zer will win.
I need younger people in office. Like
Yes.
this is ridiculous. I'm really excited about Justice Brown Jackson, but I think because they recently swore her into the Supreme Court, but they knew exactly what they were doing because they overturned Roe v. Wade before she was sworn in. And she's probably going to be a more liberal leaning judge. So like they just, I don't know. I'm mad. I'm real mad.
What is if you could say something to someone that's conservative and doesn't agree with abortion, to if you had the open window to change their mind, what is the one thing you would say to get them to change or to understand why this is so crucial?
I think bringing up the maternal mortality rate is very important. Just bringing up that states that have stricter abortion laws have higher maternal mortality rates. So I understand it's about, for a lot of them, it's about protecting the sanctity of life, but you can't do that with a dead mom. We have to protect the life of the mother too.
It's sad because I think people are so selfish that if you told them that, they would not care.
Yeah.
Like they don't think about, it's hard to have empathy. Like this is what we were talking about in another interview, is that psychedelics really allowed me to have empathy and like learn that. And now if I see like, oh my gosh, my little sister sent me a video of her dog killing a stick bug. And I was like, oh, I saw the like stick bug fighting for its life and everything. And I just was like, oh my God, like I can't even.
I'm a vegetarian because I'm sad about how cows are treated. Like that's literally, I drove by a cow farm and I was sad. And it's funny, one time, the duality of my life, we had a lizard stuck in the clinic or a bug or something, and everyone's like freaking out. And I was like, I'll get it and I'll take it outside. I don't step on bugs. Like I take them outside. And so I take it outside the clinic and I put it on the, grass, and like the protesters outside are calling me a murderer and all that. And I'm like, I can't even step on a bug. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
like, I took a bug outside. I don't know how much of a
Well,
murderer I really am.
and it's crazy because like they're calling you a murderer, but
Hmm.
literally women are dying from this. So
Yeah.
it's just such a weird. It's so weird that people aren't able to step outside of themselves and like
Yeah.
look at this. But I just think it's because the education isn't there, and conservative radio is a fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
Yeah.
also odd that like pro-life people are so passionate about other people's lives, like that they don't even know.
that they're
Yeah.
they're that pro
And
life.
Like
It's-
for fucking protesters to be
yeah.
spending their goddamn time outside of a fucking clinic.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just
they're
wild
like
because,
old and they like don't
yeah.
have a lot
And I'm
to
just
do.
like, how do you think this is going to make the difference? What are you doing to lobby your politicians to have paid maternity leave? What are you doing to help children that are already in foster care, or to help fix that system? I mean, what are you doing about the outrageous cost of prenatal care? Like, or the outrageous cost of childcare? Like, what are you actually doing by standing out there and yelling? Like, and making
Right.
some 16-year-old cry because she's coming in for birth control? Like, let's, like, what good are you think you're doing in the world?
Just fear. I mean, if it's for all those religious motherfuckers,
Yeah.
religion is just based off of fear. That's all they know. It's the only tactic that they are familiar with. So just
Yeah.
fear.
Before we start like wrapping up everything in our time with you, I do want to personally add on here to anybody listening that I mean, I've personally had an abortion. I went the pill route, and I lived in a state where it wasn't legal, and there are options for you online to do Plan C. There are options if you live in another, and if you can't even do that, there's apparently a UK brand that will
Yeah.
ship you the pill option. There are ways you can do this, even if you live in a state and you can't. And I remember the process so vividly. It it was a painful experience, but it was also a very ritualistic experience for me to be able to do that and experience that with my body. I was very confused and emotional on what to do, and like if I would keep it and everything. Like that's a total valid feeling and emotion to go through. I also thought that I would regret it. I thought it would be something that I think about every single day. Um, and the answer, if you want any personal experience from someone that has had one and has done the pill route, I don't think about it at all anymore. I don't think about it in a way and when I do, it's not sad. I don't regret it. My entire life would have been totally different than it is right now. And I love my life right now. And that is worth more to me than having a child for someone telling me to have a child, basically. And if you are in a state that you think you can't get one, just do your research. You can. It can be safe. You don't have to hurt yourself. And yeah. So I just wanted to say that because we have a big listening base that's in Arkansas, and don't think it's not possible, and don't think that just
Please,
you can do
yeah.
it.
Please reach out to Access Funds, reach out to Planned Parenthoods in other states. Like, we're all navigating this together. We're all figuring out. We had an instance today where I think it was 3 affiliates talking in California, figuring out how we could get a patient the care she needed. And we worked out travel for her. We worked out a hotel stay. There's people that's what they do. Don't feel like you have to do unsafe things to terminate a pregnancy. You deserve safe access to life-saving care, and you deserve compassionate access. And
Exactly.
it can happen.
And yeah, there's so many resources out there all over the world of people that will help
There are.
you not go through with it. And it's okay if you don't want to go through with it. Like, it's
Yeah.
fucking
It's
fine. And you will have
yeah.
another opportunity whenever you're ready, and it'll be beautiful. And yeah, it's just, I want especially people to know that, like, it's just don't think that you're stuck, I guess.
Yeah.
Might be a little
And
harder, but you're not
yeah,
stuck.
you're
So
not stuck. There's a whole network of people out there that'll make it happen for you. And another thing, it will not affect future fertility. That's one thing I want to say. If you can get pregnant once, you can get pregnant
right.
again. And abortion does not
Also,
harm major organs or make you infertile or
yeah,
cause
I
cancer.
want to say that the process for me was extremely easy and everybody was extremely kind. I did everything virtually. It also was only like $150, I
Oh, that's
believe.
great. That's
Yeah, and
awesome.
me and my partner just split it, and it was it literally was the easiest, hardest part about that whole thing was my emotions. I was like,
Yeah, it's a lot.
experiencing being pregnant and all of
Yeah,
that. And it's just a lot. And literally I I took the pill, waited 24 hours, did the rest, and it was in a very like that. It was painful for a few hours. Obviously everybody's different, but
hmm
it passes. And so again, like, cheap, it's not that expensive if you don't. I didn't even use insurance or anything like that.
right.
So yeah, it wasn't that bad. It was a little painful, but it wasn't
Yeah,
that bad. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's manageable for everybody, and yeah, no, that's huge. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure, like, that's tough to share.
Yeah, I've
That's tough
never
information to
been
share.
open about it online.
Yeah,
I've never I've only shared it with close friends, not even
right.
family. So
Yeah,
but this is an important episode for me and us, and especially with everything that's going on right now. I just think
yeah,
that it's good to also, I just really, and I was debating on sharing because I was like, oh, I don't like want personal information like that out. But then I was like, it would be nice, I'm sure, if you're out there and you're scared and you get pregnant, to know from like someone to speak on it that's done the pill and has had the
right.
experience and lived in a
Yeah,
state that it's not able to
yeah.
get, and so that's why I did it.
I know, absolutely.
But
No, I think it's definitely the hardest part of my job is not sharing personal stories. Like, I have to just stick to the facts, stick to the script, but it's like I want to tell, the patients, like, I've had an abortion. I'm okay.
yeah,
It went great. There was no complications. I've had no issues with my health. Like, and it was personally the best decision I could make for myself at the time.
right.
And yeah, so I think it helps destigmatize it. So yeah, there is
I
a
think so
website.
too. I think the more you talk about it, the less people. I mean,
Yeah,
exactly.
there's a
But
website
I
called
want to
Shout.
say,
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
oh, go ahead.
No, there's a great website called shoutyourabortion.com. It's either .com or
Oh,
.org. But yeah, it's fundraising for abortion funds, and yeah, you can tell your story, your abortion story, and I
oh.
think that's important for people to hear. So
Yeah, because I mean, I was learning that through that process too. Everybody, like the people that have had one, there's always a story to it, and it's always kind of
mhm,
different. And
that's different for
you get
everybody.
to just kind of connect on that a little bit. But yeah, thank you
Yeah,
for all of this. Thank you for coming on.
absolutely.
This was
Yeah, thank you for having me.
thank you. You knew a lot of things, and I just
This was very
I know a
needed.
lot.
very, very needed. I
Thank
feel like I was
you.
just in therapy, like a little bit.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Really.
Yeah. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you think would be interesting or beneficial for people to know?
Um. One of the things we go over anytime we have someone in for an abortion is we also talk about birth control options. And I know that's like a whole different beast that we could probably talk about for another like 2-3 hours. But I want to plug another website called that I use with my patients called bedsider.org. And you can like create a whole chart I'm a very visual person, to decide which birth control method is good for you. So if you have an abortion appointment, you come ready and armed and you know what method you want to help prevent against pregnancy if that's your goal. So
Oh,
I'm not sponsored by literally anybody. So I'm just like, these are websites and tools that I actually use. So um,
wow.
yeah, that's I think that's pretty much it.
Wow, thank
So
you
thank
so
you.
much. This has been amazing. But before we go and start wrapping up, we do have 3 questions we want to ask you that have nothing to do with this episode or interview
All
at
right.
all.
I love it. I love it.
Holy-
Let's do it. Palate cleanser.
Yeah. What is your favorite way to cook or eat a potato?
Oh my God. This is such an important question to me because potatoes are my favorite.
Mhm.
So, okay. I have an air fryer. So any type of fried potatoes got to go in the air fryer. So I will rank it. If you've ever lived in the South, Bojangles, it's like a chicken chain. They have these things called bow rounds, and they're like amazing little hash browns. So I'm going to say that's number 1. Number 2, a curly fry, and then number 3, a loaded baked potato.
There we go. She
These
gave
are
us 3
great
options.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I feel very passionately about potatoes. The fact that was the question you asked me meant this was meant to be. So,
Yay. Damn. If you could be a gold medalist at any Olympic sport, summer or winter, which one would it be?
ooh, I am going to say curling because anyone that does curling just looks like they're having a great time. Like, I don't understand anything that's going on in curling, but they look like they're having fun, and it looks like a low pressure sport. So, like, let's do curling. That sounds fun. You need to be on the ice, a little
Dang,
brush
okay,
thing.
nice. That's good.
Okay. Next one or last one is, would you rather smoke weed on the beach or trip psychedelics in the desert?
Okay, what time of year is the desert?
Oh, wow.
It's up to you.
No one's asked us
Okay.
this.
Because, like, I don't like being hot. Like,
Mhm.
Does
You
it
know
not
what?
get
I feel
chilly in
like-
the desert at night?
It does.
yeah, it does.
It's really cold.
I feel like desert during the day in the wintertime is like my favorite temperature.
Mhm.
So I'm going to say psychedelics in the desert during wintertime. Because I feel like smoking weed on the beach. I live in California, like everybody. It's whatever. Like
Yeah.
there's- no
Yeah,
one does that.
okay.
Like so,
Like,
yeah. I'm gonna
what'd you
say
do?
right. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
desert during wintertime. Not when it's hot.
Wow, you were the first person to bring up weather options.
Well, 'cause,
So,
like,
yeah.
there's like, I've spent time in the desert, so I'm like, okay.
No,
what
I
time of
love it.
year?
That's very
Like-
specific. But before we start like wrapping things up again, where can we find you? Can people come to you for anything like online too?
Yeah. I have social media. I have a TikTok, and I have been kind of posting more like abortion, reproductive health care related content on there. I am on Instagram. My Instagram is mostly about powerlifting because I compete in that, but I do like
Oh.
Q&As about reproductive health care and sexual health and abortion. So I've done that. And then both of those you can find me at Celia Marie G. So my first name, middle name Marie, and the letter G. And yeah.
Oh,
you can-
nice. Okay.
Yeah, if
we'll
anyone
also
has-
link everything too.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions about reproductive health care, I love answering them. If I don't know the answer, I can help find someone that does. So
You guys heard it there. Okay. Well, dang. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you.
Like,
Oh
oh my
this has
God, thank
been-
y'all for having me. This is wonderful.
well, like I said, it's been very hard to find someone in the Planned Parenthood space that would come on and talk. You guys are probably all really busy.
Yeah,
so, again, I
yeah.
appreciate it.
So we got out on time today, so I was able to make it. So
Yay.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and everyone, if you've made it this far,
thank you.
thank you guys for listening, and I hope this broadened your perspective if it needed to be broadened a little bit on abortions. But yeah, looking at you, Lacey.
Thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Again, you can find everything linked down below if you want to keep up with us or Celia. But on that note, we'll
Yeah.
see you in the next episode.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.